Luxury bags carefully handcrafted in China.
Tariffs against China add up to 145%.
Turns out your quote-unquote made in Italy luxury handbag might have more ties to Chinese factories than to Tuscany.
Started with a single legal filing, but the ripple effect was seismic. One carefully prepared lawsuit was all it took to shake the foundations of one of the most prestigious and powerful fashion houses on the planet.
This Birkin bag at Hermès boutique will cost you 38,000 USD. But what is the real cost?
We're talking about a global brand valued at nearly $200 billion, a name synonymous with status, luxury, and untouchable exclusivity. And just like that, everything changed.
For each bag, it will cost 50 USD.
Lou Birkin, daughter of the late legendary Jane Birkin, walked into a quiet meeting room with a document that would stun everyone present. According to insiders familiar with the confrontation, she didn't raise her voice. She didn't make a scene. Instead, she calmly placed a single sheet of paper on the table, slid it toward the Hermès legal team, and waited. Contents of that page? Legal ultimatum that stopped the room cold. There were no negotiations, no preliminary discussions, no hints dropped beforehand to prepare the brand for what was coming. The message was clear, concise, and absolute. Cease all production immediately. That's all it took to send shockwaves through the company's inner circle. And if eyewitness accounts are to be believed, some attorneys in the room turned visibly pale. With that bold move, the world's most elusive handbag, the Birkin, began to lose the mystique it had carefully cultivated over 4 decades. For years, the bag symbolized something nearly unattainable. Handcrafted perfection reserved for the elite few. But now, its iron grip on fashion status seemed to loosen with every passing hour. Cracks were no longer invisible. The unraveling had begun, not with public backlash or sales data, but with a silent legal strike that exposed the fragility behind a legacy built on secrecy and scarcity, behind the glossy marketing campaigns, luxurious storefronts, and romantic imagery of French craftsmanship. The most shocking revelation about Hermès wasn't about their exclusive designs or signature leathers. It came from an entirely different place. Far from Paris, far from the historic ateliers where artisans supposedly handcraft each piece with old-world care. The real surprise? A factory floor in China. Just a few weeks ago, a TikTok video quietly uploaded by a worker at that very facility went viral, sending shockwaves through the fashion community. The short clip pulled back the curtain on something few ever expected to see: genuine Birkin bags being assembled outside of France. Not imitations, not lookalikes. These were the actual bags, with authentic serial codes, precise craftsmanship, and signature design details, being stitched by workers who were clearly not inside a European workshop. And then came the math. According to the video's creator, the total cost of producing one of these coveted items, including premium-grade leather, imported Italian thread, and fine French lining, was approximately $1,400. That's a significant investment in materials, yes, but nowhere near the $38,000 price tag Hermès places on those same bags at retail. This staggering markup, over 600%, sparked an avalanche of criticism online. People didn't just question the price. They began questioning the narrative. These bags were being assembled with legitimate parts and identical quality. What exactly were customers paying tens of thousands of dollars for? The answer, as it turns out, may be far simpler than the brand wants to admit: the power of a logo. It's the label, the name Hermès, that carries the price tag, not necessarily the product itself. But things took an even more complicated turn when skeptics looked closer at Hermès' official website. There, in elegant typeface, the brand proudly declares that their products are handmade in France. That phrase is more than marketing. It's a claim of origin, one that legally matters in the world of international commerce. So when millions of viewers saw actual Birkins being sewn together in a Chinese workshop, complete with background audio and raw footage showing the process in action, a much bigger question emerged. Was Hermès being fully transparent with their customers? This wasn't just about optics anymore. That video may have pulled the first thread in a much larger unraveling of Hermès' carefully curated image. And that single inconsistency, the gap between what's promised and what's delivered, is shaping up to be a legal disaster the company might not be able to contain. In a twist that's sending shockwaves through both the luxury fashion industry and the legal world, a powerful phrase has started to appear in newly filed court documents: heritage fraud. It's a term that, until now, rarely appeared in mainstream conversations, but it's quickly becoming central to the storm building around Hermès. In legal terms, it refers to a brand allegedly fabricating or misrepresenting its origin story, traditions, or craftsmanship in order to charge a premium and preserve its elite status. And in Hermès' case, the accusations are hitting directly at the heart of what made the Birkin bag iconic in the first place. According to mounting legal claims, Hermès may have built its decades-long reputation on not one, but two major misrepresentations. The first claim targets the company's promise that every Birkin bag was meticulously crafted by a highly trained French artisan, working within the hallowed walls of Hermès' historical ateliers. This notion of exclusivity and European skill has long justified the bag's astronomical price. However, mounting evidence, including internal employee messages and whistleblower statements, suggests that this narrative might be more illusion than truth. Some reports reveal that production has quietly shifted overseas, calling into question the authenticity of that handmade in France label. The second claim strikes at the brand's namesake, Jane Birkin. For years, Hermès has positioned the Birkin bag not just as a product, but as a tribute to the legendary British-French actress and singer. Her effortless sense of style, her air of authenticity, and later, even the circumstances surrounding her death were used to boost the bag's mystique. But here's what the lawsuits allege, and what many fans are now learning for the first time. Jane Birkin never gave her full endorsement to the bag. In fact, legal filings claim she never signed off on the way Hermès used her identity and image, and she was never financially compensated for the billions in revenue the bag generated. This raises troubling questions about consent, branding ethics, and long-term exploitation. Her daughter, Lou Birkin, has now taken center stage in this legal battle. Represented by a top-tier legal team, she's bringing what she claims are undeniable records and communications to court. These include leaked exchanges between longtime Hermès employees, some of whom appear to have grown frustrated by what they called dishonest practices. One particularly damning message reportedly came from a French artisan who was so disillusioned with the offshoring of labor that he threatened to go public by live-streaming a real Birkin bag being made in a factory in Guangzhou, China. Such a video could have dismantled the brand's image in minutes. Faced with growing internal unrest, Hermès leadership allegedly moved to contain the situation behind closed doors. According to insiders, they began locking down access to prototype rooms and requiring staff to surrender personal phones before entering certain work areas, steps that critics argue point to secrecy, not the transparency the company claims in its public messaging. What was once sold as a tale of timeless craftsmanship and artistic heritage is now under intense scrutiny. The Birkin brand, once untouchable, is being examined like never before, not just by customers but by lawyers, regulators, and former employees. But this international scandal doesn't end in Parisian courtrooms, because now the focus has shifted across the Atlantic, where the United States government has entered the picture. For years, the allure of owning a Hermès Birkin wasn't just about the design or craftsmanship, it was about the mystique. That infamous waitlist, often whispered about in fashion circles, was thought to be a marker of exclusivity, a sign that only a select few had access to the crown jewel of luxury handbags. But according to newly surfaced court documents, the real story behind that waitlist was far from elegant. It wasn't scarcity, it was strategy. Legal filings now claim that Hermès orchestrated an unspoken system designed not to reward loyalty, but to manipulate customer spending. Sales associates were allegedly coached to turn handbag purchases into a tiered game, one in which clients were told they had to prove themselves financially before ever getting close to a Birkin. These behind-the-scenes practices, the documents allege, weren't written into company policy but were quietly enforced through training and internal culture. Salespeople reportedly instructed clients to spend upwards of $50,000 on other Hermès merchandise, think silk scarves, timepieces, belts, shoes, even luxury home furnishings, before they could be considered for Birkin access. And even then, there was no guarantee. The move turned what seemed like a refined retail experience into something more like a pay-to-play hustle. According to regulators now reviewing the case, this isn't just bad form, it may be legally questionable. In fact, the U.S. Federal Trade Commission has labeled it predatory exclusivity, a term used when access to a product is used to exploit consumer behavior in unethical ways. And the fallout? Spreading fast. High-profile celebrities and influencers, longtime brand ambassadors whether formally or not, appear to be distancing themselves at record speed. In just the past week, paparazzi have snapped photos of Cardi B carrying a Goyard tote, Kim Kardashian stepping out with a Loewe puzzle bag, and Drake arriving at an event with a Bottega duffel. None had a Birkin in sight. For followers who track celebrity style, these aren't just fashion swaps, they're signals. The luxury resale market has also felt the shockwaves. Online platforms that once hosted waiting lists and bidding wars for secondhand Birkins are now experiencing what insiders are calling a sell-off. Listings for previously unicorn bags, rare colorways, or exotic materials are popping up with drastically reduced prices. One viral example? A seller who dropped the price of her Birkin by over 70% overnight. Her listing caption read simply, "Need gone. Brands toxic." That phrase alone has become a rallying cry in fashion forums and TikTok threads, as users debate whether Hermès has crossed a line it can't recover from. The brand's once flawless reputation is now riddled with accusations, not just of deceptive marketing but of deeply rooted elitism and manipulation. What used to be seen as aspirational is quickly being re-examined as exclusionary. And in an era where authenticity and transparency are king, Hermès finds itself on the defensive, struggling to control a narrative that's unraveling at digital speed. What started as a few cracks in the foundation has become a full-scale crisis. Because at this point, Hermès isn't just battling courtroom allegations, it's fighting to hold on to its very identity, and perhaps even its place in the luxury world. Insiders say CEO Nicolas Puech warned executives their cash runway is shrinking. Suppliers are demanding payment up front. Rivals are circling. And that word bankruptcy? It's no longer a rumor, it's an analyst reports. But the real dagger? Paris court just approved an asset freeze, meaning Hermès can't move money without oversight. Meanwhile, Lou's legal team is pushing for a full audit of every factory. Translation: they know where the bodies are buried. And when investigators start digging, they won't just find offshore production. They'll find the smoking gun that proves Hermès knew. So here's the question. Was the Birkin ever a masterpiece, or just marketing smoke and mirrors? Hermès bet billions that people would pay for the story of luxury. But stories fall apart when the truth comes out. And right now, the truth is this: a $1,400 bag sold for $38,000, a name used without permission, and a brand so desperate to hide its tracks, it's locking its own artisans out of workshops. The luxury bubble isn't just bursting, it's exploding. And the next time you see a limited edition tag, ask yourself, what's really being limited? Your access or their honesty? Drop a comment. Which exclusive brand do you think is next? And hit subscribe. We're tracking this fallout in real time.